Have you ever been surprised, like pleasantly surprised? Friends, if you heard the last podcast release, where my son interviewed me, that warmed my heart. That surprised me. So go back and listen to the podcast if you haven't done that yet. But for those of you who have, what you heard was my 17-year-old son, Justice, asking me questions. Here's what's amazing to me. Justice is my introverted child. He's also my most caring child. He's also the one who has the deepest reasoning and consideration. He processes very uniquely. So whenever he reached out and he said, Dad, I got some questions I've been wanting to ask you, but I want to do it on the air. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's have it, man. Let's roll. So whenever he said that, it surprised me in a good way. And he came to the podcast studio and he didn't tell me what he was going to ask me. So I had no idea what I was walking into. Now, if you go back and listen to the questions, they were pretty heavy questions. And I did my best to answer it through that long podcast. Emily and I have been intentionally living out openly our lives, our thoughts, our patterns, the way in which we process in front of our children. And whenever he began through his curiosity asking me some of those questions, it was like, eureka, they get it. I made the statement in the podcast. I said, son, no one in your life wants to see you succeed more than your mother and father. And I know as a parent, for those of you who had children, you would say the same thing, that you want to see your children succeed. Whatever that word succeed means in your vocabulary and your framework, you want to see your children succeed. So as I was reflecting on his conversation, I wanted to highlight some things which surprised me. The first thing is that Emily and I have always had this family first mentality. Now, I realize there's talking clips out there where you never put your family first and all that, but we've always had this position that our family is first. And the way we do this is in our conversations around the house is this way. Our children are going to be gone one day, and mama and daddy want to be in love with each other still whenever they're gone. So Emily and I have intentionally dated each other, continued our romance with each other through all these years, these decades of having our kids there. And now as our kids are now leaving the nest, that love and that passion that adventure that we both have is still there. And our kids see it because we want them to have the same relationship with their future spouse. So we've always had that position that Emily and I come first. And then our children are second. We care about them as we should. But we look at them as arrows in the hand of a mighty man, as scripture says. We look at them as we have one ministry, and that is to disciple them, to teach them in the way they should go, to point them as an arrow in the hand of the mighty man to where we believe through God's direct reflection, his impact in our life, to point them where we believe God is going to use them most. So we made some decisions years ago, unpopular decisions, and it wasn't mine. For those of you who may remember, my mom and dad homeschooled me from about the 3rd or 4th grade throughout high school. Emily went to a small private Christian school. Whenever Savannah was born, we started a cooperative school where she would go 2 or 3 days a week. And I reached a certain point where Emily came to me one day and she said, I think I want to homeschool Savannah. I do not want her in a regular school. I do not want our children there. I don't like the limitations. I don't like me having to come back and teach them again at the end of the day. I believe that I can teach them. I said, absolutely you can. So we made this decision years ago to homeschool our children. But whenever we made that decision, I said, Emily, I'll make this decision with you and I'll agree with you on this. If one thing can come true, we include our family in our business. See, I don't believe that business and family should be separate. I should believe they should be integrated. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could build a business in such a way that the children learn the trade and you could give them the business? Wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing where if the children see the impact that you have through your business and through the ministry of your business and they want to be a part of that? That's the way our decision was. We did another thing that was unpopular with our children. We never allowed them to go into public sports. We just never did. And I realized that's totally against the culture, the god of football, the god of baseball in today's society. We just did not want sports running our life. Now, instead, what we've done is we've done things where we get together as a family. So we have fun playing music together all over the house. All of us played various instruments. Jude just kind of plays the radio, if you want to know the truth, but we all kind of play various instruments and we love that. We travel together. We love going to national parks. Our kids have gotten used to that. We love hunting as a family. We'll go hunting or fishing together. So we made this intentional decision years ago that family came first. And what you saw in that interview was a son who understands families first. Now, the second thing that I want you to reflect on is that mentorship echoes. If you listen to Justice's questions, you'll hear me. And if those of you who know Emily, you'll hear us in his questions. I recall that there were 5 men who mentored me in my life outside my parents. And I can still to this day hear their words in my ears. I can still to this day hear them. I was taught to think differently than the vast number of people my age. And then now as I'm looking and I'm watching Justice interview me, it's his turn. It's his turn. And so for him to ask me questions and make me go deeper, it's like, dude, this is the way it's supposed to be. We've never dealt with this rebellion thing where kids don't like their parents and get these attitudes. We've never dealt with that. Literally what you saw on camera, and those of you who heard our voice, that's our life. See, I believe if God gives us something, then we're supposed to use all of our gifts and our abilities to steward that something. I believe that God gave our children to us. And I believe God gave you your children. And you are to use everything within your capacity, everything outside of your capacity through the wisdom of Scripture to steward your children. Speaking of steward, what you might have heard is stewardship over success. Now, Justice was pivotal in naming the podcast, The Deca Millionaire. I actually had a client this last week. He said, where did Deca Millionaire come from? Did you make that up? And I said, absolutely, I did. No one else has ever said that I can find. In fact, if you Google Deca Millionaire, my name is attached to everything. Why? Because Deca Millionaire came from my children. Whenever we talk about stewardship of success, it's not that I want my children to become Deca Millionaires. That's not the purpose of this journey. And in fact, if you think that I'm only after making money, then you don't know me. It's not about the money. It's about who you and who my children and who I become in the journey for a monumental quest that very few will ever attain. There are less than 40,000 Deca Millionaires. Less than 40,000 Deca Millionaires in the United States right now. That's not a lot. A lot of millionaires, less than 40,000. So why not set our sights on something so astronomical that if we hit it, we're a changed person. If we don't, we're a changed person. See, that's the definition. That's the definition of stewardship. You focus on stewarding your children over the success that comes from it. What I've been amazed to find out is as I'm teaching my children, they're a reflection of me. And now I can see myself in all my inadequacies and all of my failures and all the areas that I need to improve on. I can see all those things in my children. And now it helps me in business. It is crazy how it works. So to me, stewardship is everything that God has given me in my control, that I am going to give an account of that one day. And how do I use this? Money, talents, family, friends, influence, time. You keep going on with the words. How do I use these resources that God's given me to impact the mission that he's led me to? You saw that with Justice. In fact, you heard me say, buddy, money is a tool to accomplish God's mission he has given you to do. He has now said that statement 3 times since that interview. I've heard him 3 different times. He was at church and he said, my dad made this statement. He goes, I've been thinking about it, that money is just a tool. Money is just a tool. Money is just a tool. Friends, do you know how that's going to impact his life? So whenever he interviewed me, I could see the light bulb connecting. All these statements that I've been making, all the podcasts he's been on, listening to me in the car, all the books I've been having him read. Whenever he's sitting with me in meetings with our attorneys and our CPAs and financial advisors and sitting around the table with my brother and my sister who are both business owners, we're having these conversations. It is coming out and it's reflective. I'll also tell you this, I saw wisdom transfer. Wisdom is knowledge applied. That's all it is, simplifying it down. We all seek knowledge. We all do. And some of us more than others. We try to get more credentials. We listen to books. We read books. We listen to podcasts. We gain knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge applied. So as I was listening to Justice, man, wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing if we poured so much into our children that they actually catch the message and repeat it and live it? Not just say it, but live it. I actually said directly this. Sometimes I wonder if I'm saying it clear enough, buddy. Sometimes I wonder if I'm saying what I'm trying to say clear enough. If the message is being caught or if it's just going over your head. I actually said that in that podcast. And when we got done with that podcast, he looked at me in the truck. He said, Dad, I catch so much. I catch so much. Friends, talking about reflection. More importantly, talk about conviction. So many things I fail in, just like you as a parent, so many things we fail in. Whenever he began asking those questions, the depth of those questions showed me that he is listening every word. I made this statement. I said, buddy, mastery is when you can do it effortlessly without thought. That's mastery. And whatever you need to accomplish in life, buddy, you want to be a master at it. So friends, I want to challenge you a little bit. Who is watching you right now? What are they learning from your life? What are they learning from the words that you say? What are they learning from your actions? You caught a glimpse of my 17-year-old son making statements and asking deep questions that most adults will never ask. I don't know about you, but for me personally, as a parent, as a driver, as somebody who likes to live big and live large and charge hell with a water pistol and climb dynamic mountains, he encouraged me. May I challenge you to think generationally for a second? What would it look like if you lived like your kids were going to interview you tomorrow? Oh, I would have sure changed a lot. Sure changed a lot. Man, I failed so many things. I fail so often. I'll say it this way. I'm just an old country boy born and raised on a dirt road. And I mean that, friends. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I'm not. But man, when he asked those questions, it was a wake-up call for me. Friends, as somebody who wants to see you achieve your wildest dreams, let's not lose sight of the people in our lives that are watching us. Let's not lose sight of the influence that we have. As you move through the day, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with those who need to see you authentically around the dinner table or around the desk. We'll talk to you next week.